All right, what up, squad? Hemingway checking in, and I am still at it per usual. Today I was actually listening to one of my usual podcasts. I listen to a handful of music related, music industry, music business podcasts, weekly, and this one is the At Odds podcast with Dame Ritter, DJ Payne One, and Aaron, and they all work in different areas of the music industry, and I think they were covering a real dope topic actually in relation to, of course, music and just how it is of the basically what success looks like in different levels of the music industry. So I thought it was dope. I wanted to go ahead and bring it to y'all and all my music homies or my rapper homies. I want to hear y'all opinions. So y'all get down in the comments and tell me what y'all think about this type of content. Also, if you like this type of content, make sure you click the follow or subscribe button depending on what platform you see this on, and make sure you stay tapped in with me. So this is the actual podcast I was listening to, and I'm gonna let them talk. They're actually in response to Kenny Beats. He made a tweet about basically how is no one dumber than someone who thinks they're gonna get rich making music, and I'm gonna leave that where that is right now. But they're gonna be responding to it as well. And I did a video last week actually kind of reviewing what he said because once I read it, I knew exactly what he meant, and they cover that and get into some more things. So
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is a situation that isn't unique to music and shouldn't discourage musicians. I think the whole conversation, like you're saying, Dame, there exists a middle ground between kind of the alarmism in this article and the more grounded points that he's making. I think the incredibly grounded points do need to be emphasized by someone who's doing it. Like if someone, a lot of people are looking at Kenny Beats and thinking, oh yeah, he's got to be filthy rich, but he's doing a lot, and I'm sure he has probably less money than what the average fan would imagine.
actually, this one's off the cuff. Let me see if I can find the tweet that I had in my last video. So let me see how this works. All right, bet. So this is the quote of the tweet that he said, but he said, there's no one dumber than a person trying to get rich by making music. And this was a few weeks ago. Damn, I said I said music like down Glorilla, Block Boy or something. But I'm from the Carolinas, not Memphis. Anyways, so that was the main quote, but he had a, let me see. The actual tweet is man, I gotta pull this up. Hold up. Actually, let me do it like this real quick. Whoa, whoa, boom. So the actual tweet, it says, I've been making music as a job since I was 16 years old. I'm in my 30s. I can support myself and my family, yes, but I'm telling you, as a multi-platinum, multi-Grammy nominated producer, that getting rich off music is only in 2024. My bad. Getting rich off music only in 2024 is impossible without many other sources of income. I'm not lying to hate on you. It's a warning that you should be in it for the love. So he's got a couple more tweets after that. I'm not going to review all of those, but essentially what he's saying is he's talking to the people that just come into music blind, thinking that you're going to end up just getting rich, just strictly off making music. And it's something that's real tough to do. So like with what Dame was just saying, there's some, it's some real shit in what he said. Like he's coming from a grounded place, but in today's world, if you just say it straight out like that and you don't elaborate on it and you just kind of leave it straightforward, like it's not even vague, it's very direct. But like, I mean, well, I won't say it's direct, but it's definitely not vague. But people just go off the cuff thinking of different shit and getting offended, especially other creatives. So back to what Dan was saying. I mean, I'm sorry. Back to what DJ Payne was saying. Um, it's definitely some. He's coming from a realistic place. Let me get a.
And he probably does far more work than the average fan imagines.
And I think a lot of people do think when you hear people who are multi-platinum or Grammy nominated, stuff like that, when you hear them speak or you see them say something, you think a lot of these people they have more money than they do, and that's not a diss to Kenny Beats, but like a lot of people are really living off pretty average salaries for the most part, but it's just on the outside looking in, you wouldn't know it.
He does. And so to have the reality, I wish more artists would give reality checks rather than flashing and not talking about their mistakes, not talking about the pitfalls in the music business. My point is what you.
All right, so boom. That's what I'm doing here today, right? Like, I've been making music for a while, and I definitely have learned that it's tiers and it's levels to the entertainment business, the music industry, and just where you are as an artist. And there's obviously major label, then there's independent, and there's just different tiers to each side of that. But a part of my dilemma of actually sticking to certain type of content is because I can do, obviously outside of my music, the promotional content, music videos, stuff like that. I can do, funny music related skits, and I can do, talk about the gossip shit. Like, obviously Kendrick and Drake were just, they whole thing going on this weekend, stuff like that. I gotta discuss because that's just part of the culture. But like, I can talk about a lot of that other shit, but I want to talk about the reality of what I'm actually trying to do and trying to accomplish. And what I'm trying to accomplish is, being a solidified musician, whether that is just actually as an artist or as someone who's an engineer or any other type of songwriter, stuff like that. And those are all things that I do. But it's like, I've always been pulled to talk about the reality of this shit, because as I've grown, I've learned that a lot of this shit is just, a lot of flash and not a lot of truth to what people see on the outside looking in. Even me as a fan, I had to learn a lot of this shit, so like Dame said, this is more of a reality. I mean, I keep saying Dame. Like DJ Payne said, this is actually more of a reality check than anything. Like, the shit they talking about is very realistic, and it's good to hear from people that are successful in some way, form, or fashion in the music industry.
You're saying, Dame, if we focus on this alarmism as though this is something that is specific to the music business, then we actually end up discouraging a lot of people that don't need to be discouraged.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, we haven't been shy about saying that it is hard to make money in the music industry, but it's primarily because there's so many people that want to do it. So I just don't understand why we throwing out all these other things that are very common to making money in so many other areas, to just add on top of how the reality of how difficult it is to make money in music. I mean, I would like to see somebody like actually do the research. And because I think you guys sent that graphic, or somebody did that graphic of like, this is how many people are in high school playing ball. This is how many people make to college playing ball. This is how many people make it to the pros playing ball. Like we do need a similar graphic that shows how difficult it is. Like, this is how many artists are out there. But even then it wouldn't be that simple, right? Because, there's, like we've pointed out before, there are X amount of people, there's millions of people trying to make it in music, but there are probably a very small fraction of those pursuing it what I would call the right way. So, the pool isn't really the tens of millions. It's probably just a million, but that's still a million people. Like, it's still a big pool.
And like, even when he says the right way, obviously, they've all worked with professional artists at a pretty high level to some degree. DJ Payne one is a producer. Dame was a music manager. Aaron is a music manager and music executive. So they've all worked with artists that were, independent, lower level, and actually on a major label, or should I say to a higher level or higher degree. And what was that man was saying?
How many people make the college playing ball?
Yeah, he was saying with the demographic. I mean, not the demographic. The getting like a graphic, or basically like a graph chart of people trying to actually make music. It would be tough to do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's people that's actually it's not really charted. Like it's people that we don't know making music that want to make music.
How many people make it to the pros playing ball? Like we do need a
Alarmism as though this is something.
Hold on, what was that?
It is hard to make money in the music industry,
I lost my
but
little
it's
spot.
primarily because there's so many people that want to do it. So I just don't understand why we throwing out all these other things that are very common to making money in so many other areas to just add on top of how the reality of how difficult it is to make money in music. I mean, I would like to see somebody like actually do the research, and because I think you guys sent that graphic, or somebody did that graphic of like, this is how many people are in high school playing ball. This is how many people make to college playing ball. This is how many people make it to the pros playing ball. Like we do need a similar.
Okay, my bad. And then what he was saying was he was saying to the right way. So there's music is like the wild wild west, but at the end of the day there's still some foundational shit you got to understand in order to get to just to accomplish whatever process you're trying to accomplish in music. So it's like if you're trying to make the song, you got to understand the basics of writing a song, creating a song, making a beat, recording a song, all that, getting that done. And then once you're trying to release a song, you got to understand the basics of that, the basics of marketing, stuff like that. So there's a foundation to it all. But then once you kind of figure that out, the foundation, the shit gets crazy. So it's really not one right way. There is a foundation, and then everybody has their own little different ways and different roles they take to try to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish in and out of the music industry.
Graphic that shows how difficult it is. Like, this is how many artists are out there. But even then, it wouldn't be that simple, right? Because, there's, like we've pointed out before, there are X amount of people, there's millions of people trying to make it in music, but there are probably a very small fraction of those pursuing it what I would call the right way. So, the pool isn't really the tens of millions. It's probably just a million, but that's still a million people. Like, it's still a big pool.
Yeah, but I think music is more diverse when you look at the career options compared to sports. Like, if you're an athlete, you're trying to get into the league. You're not really trying to be a consultant or like a high school gym teacher, whatever the case is. But you have those options.
A lot of artists, a lot of players, especially like ones that I went to school with, it's like that you're good and you're good enough to go. A lot of them will even go to college knowing that there's not even a chance of them ever making it to the league, much less getting off of the bench. But they go to college and play in school, even as unscholarshiped athletes, because they do want to coach. They want to go back and coach AAU ball. They want to start their own league. They do want to consult on things like that. So I do think that that's like a subset of athletes that most people don't even realize are aware of their capabilities, and they're like, I'm going to ride this thing out until,
Yeah, you don't hear about that.
Aaron made a good point, because it's like, it's a lot of, I started to realize as I got older, it's a lot of athletes that do that. And you would think that like, damn, why would you try to go to, basically, why would you waste your time going to college if you wasn't trying to go to the league? And to some people, that's as far as they could go. And why would you not take it to the furthest you could go? If that's only college, cool. If it's, semi-pro or something past that, cool. But more and more I started to see people who went as far as they could. Some people actually made it to the league, but at the least, even if they made it to college, they went and played and gave it their all, because they wanted to turn around and actually be able to coach and consult. And whatever level they reach, they still can come back and tell somebody that's behind them, like, hey, look, if you're trying to at least get here, like, I made it here. So, you know what I'm saying? Past that, I can tell you what I tried and what worked, whatever. Might not have been fully successful going past that, but I made it to this point. And that's what a lot of people, that's what a lot more of this content we see now with music is people giving their own personal experiences about what they did to get to where they at in music right now. And I did something similar with like me also trying to engineer, like not trying, I do engineer, but learning to engineer. Engineering was my thing. Like, okay, when I first started, I started making music at 19, 18, 19. I'm like, okay, I told my parents, I'm gonna go engineer and go to school because that's something I want to learn to do. Is something it would, if as an artist, it would actually cut overhead if I know how to do it the proper way. And then plus I can go and say I'm going to school for something like that, which I did end up getting some certificates and stuff like that. So that was a way I looked at it, almost like me going to college to or finding something to do outside of the thing that I was doing, but it still was relatable. You know what I'm saying? And I can still be involved with other artists and helping them out, and still making music some way, even if it's not my vocals on it.
And you really don't hear about it in music. You don't hear about the people making 50 to 100,000 a year. And when you get into these conversations with people, it's always like, oh, you don't have $1 million. You don't have $1 billion. You really failed in music. It's like, bitch, how much do you make? Yeah, well, I'm a dental assistant. It's a job. Everyone has a job. What are you talking about?
And okay, so this is the biggest and main point out of the podcast that I want to take away from it, and even wrapping it into what Kenny Beats was saying. People come into this thing, including myself when I was young, thinking you're gonna be hella rich and you're gonna get hella rich quick, and this is the worst get rich quick scheme ever. But it is something that not only you can actually get to a point to where you get a very decent income in a different way, but you can use it as a gateway or like a door to get to other avenues of money. But the thing is a lot of people that are successful musicians and they're making less than 6 figures a year. You know what I'm saying? Like they're making, I won't say less than 6 figures, but they're making, 30+ thousand a year off of music. And even at a minimum, if you're making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 off of music yearly, and let's say you're not doing no type of tours, you might be doing local shows or regional shows, but no like tours or anything like that, that's good money. And that's if you're somebody who loves music but you went to school to be a dental assistant, or you went to school to be a barber, which is still a creative job to me, but just giving examples. If you went to learn a trade, if you work in HVAC, but you're still making 50,000-60,000 a year, but you can make that making music, why would you not? But a lot of people look at it, and again, include myself when I was younger, and you would think it's a failure if you don't make $500,000, $700,000, you know what I'm saying, $1 million, if you ain't a multi-millionaire off of music, just to tell people you do that, or if you ain't platinum, or if you ain't selling gold records. And that's not the reality of this shit. So even as myself, and shifting at my age now, shifting my mentality and trying to get this to more of a solidified business, turning music into a more of a solidified business, but I had to learn and understand that structure. Now the goal is to supplement the income I make 2 or 3 years. Once I hit it 2 or 3 years in a row, then it's like, okay, now we can try to raise it up and try to scale it, and then get to the point to where, I would ideally like to make it still 6 figures, 100,000, 150,000, whatever. But if I can accomplish that, if I can accomplish 60 grand a year making music, and then that opens up the lane and the freedom for me to do the creative shit that I want to do, and then still do other things that I want to do eventually, then it's all going to tie in. But a lot of people, they look at it like it's a damn failure if you didn't make $100 million, and not understanding them labels and shit, man. It's a loan, but it's the worst. It's literally the worst loan in the world. If you think about any loan you can get right now, you can walk out your house right now and get payday loan, you know what I'm saying, whatever type of Bank Shark loan, whatever. A record label, like, nah, bro. I don't, you know what I'm saying? The only way it makes any sense is if you've put in a certain amount of work anyway, and you're not going to have no leverage if you ain't making no money. So it's like you be better off if you somebody who wants to get a major deal or get signed to something. You be better off figuring out how to make 30, 40, 50,000 a year before you actually lock in with a label, other than not making nothing, getting a hot song blowing up, taking whatever deal they give you, fuck around, give you $1 million. You basically in hold for like $3 million. It's crazy the way they do the math.
It just becomes a really weird situation where we're looking at the music business as this exceptional field because we have perceptions of of people who work within that field as really just one or the other. Either you're filthy rich or you're a failure. Kenny Beats says he's making a living. I don't imagine he would consider himself rich, And, you know, once you see the inside of the music business, you see it for what it is, which is just a career field with a lot of different layers, and a lot of diversity. You can make music. You can be a music teacher who plays at a piano bar on the weekend and make a good living. You can be a producer who lives in a foreign country where the cost of living is lower than it is in Western Europe or the United States, and sell beats online and be fine, and be considered upper middle class or upper class in your area. There are just a lot of different ways to make money. So yeah, I agree with what Kenny Beats is saying. I think the alarmism is just what made me pause a little bit, you know, with like, I don't know. I think there's a way to talk about what he's saying without saying, well, it's impossible to get rich, or it's impossible to make money without A, B, and C. It's different for everybody. And I understand, like, in an interview or a Twitter conversation, you can't provide an exhaustive list of every way to make money in the music business and say everything you want to say. It's just when someone like him says something, people listen.
And I think too, like, it's very much an outlier driven industry. Like, all three of us are doing impossible things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't take that lightly. It's like, what the three of us are doing makes no sense. Like, how we're able to like have consistent income. Me, it's like freshly consistent, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we've all three always had to jump and figure out what the next step is to make sure that we stayed relevant, but also to make a check. And so I do think that a lot of artists and a lot of producers who listen to us would be more than happy with 50 to 60K from music income. And if I'm being honest, most of my like music friends, like artists who I'm actually friends with, like not people I've worked with before, they're probably right in that range.
Right. And like she was saying, basically, like, yeah, you know, it would be insane to not want to accept that type of money, you know what I'm saying, or achieve that type of money just making music.
It's very much an outlier driven.
Okay, and she was saying that like it's an outlier driven thing. So it is, and a lot of people pay attention to the outliers with music. That's because it's the music industry. But it's like when you think about, like, social media is one of the main ways to market and promote yourself now, whatever field you're in. When you think about doctors, lawyers, stylists, stuff like that, stylists gets creative. Let's say doctors and lawyers, and let's say farmers. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are all three different types of ways to make money. They all honestly make money if you get on the highest scale. But there's a celebrity doctor, and we know them because they're a celebrity doctor. There's a celebrity lawyer. We know them because they're a celebrity lawyer. There's some farmers and people out there that, you know, that grow things and grow food and shit like that. But like they're very well known for it just because of now with social media. But on average, we understand with those types of jobs, we don't know them people. Like, we don't know. There's doctors everywhere. They're not all celebrities. There's lawyers everywhere. There's farmers everywhere. They're not all celebrities. But with music, you look at your musician friends and you like, damn, you ain't make it because you're not, like, everybody don't know you. You ain't make it because you ain't famous. And it's like, that's not the case. There's plenty of artists that I don't personally know, and I don't know much about their music, but I live in Charlotte, so seeing people coming through Charlotte and selling out the Fillmore, like, I'll see a name, hear a commercial, see an ad on Instagram, be like, okay, who the hell is this? Look at it. They've been selling out their whole tour, sell out the Fillmore, going on to the next city, and I have no idea who they are, but they probably making, 50, 100,000, $200,000 a year just making music, but they're not super famous and they're not super rich. But people thinking just because you don't have both, you didn't make it. And that's not the case, man. That's not the case. And even I personally had to get out of that mentality, man. So I think this was a good conversation they had, man. If y'all want to check it out, it's the At Odds podcast. DJ Pain One posted on his YouTube page. I'll post the link after this actually drops. But appreciate y'all for checking in. Eric and Reggie, yeah, appreciate y'all. But yeah, man, I'm gonna do more content like this, kind of going live particularly, but also just talking about, you know, some of the clips and things, the information I hear about in the music podcast that I listen to. Really want to tap in with the music homies and really getting into this. But man, Miles, you missed it, man. I just wrapped it up, but I'm about to watch the playback, man. I'm just talking about this podcast right here that I listen to, man. Just some of the different ways of making music, and like what it looked like to be successful in music in different levels, man. But I appreciate everybody that did tap in. If y'all haven't, follow me on Facebook, of course, and then subscribe to my YouTube as well. And until next time, you already know me, man. I'm still at it. I'm out.